Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Pre-show joke.
Yeah.
Talking about lip microphones and finding out the difference between British and American commentators. But
It turns out the British guys have a better union. So, because our guys have to multitask during the.
they have to have their hands free to do stuff.
Yeah.
They got to draw on that telestrator and show the.
Yeah, because also, what are they? Yeah, if they're commentating on like our football, like, yeah, we need guys to like explain. See this wiggly line here? That's what this means. What goes on in soccer? It's going one way. It's going the other way. All right, we watched this game for 3 hours. There's been 1 point scored.
I mean, that's where you have like the, I guess probably a stat. Like it's called a, was it called a try? When you basically you get close to the goal.
Mm-hmm.
He's having a try.
I mean, I guess if you were raised with it, it's cool. I don't know. I never got it. I tried.
I think. Did you ever watch the well? I guess you don't have Hulu. The Welcome to Wrexham. Well, you have FX. Welcome to Wrexham.
No, I haven't watched that.
Okay, I mean it's a documentary about like the guys pulling that team together after it's been like one of the worst teams in soccer.
Yeah.
So there you kind of get the idea of like what kind of makes like it is really just all about the ball getting close to the goals where all the what is it drama is.
Yeah.
It's like it was like there's not high scoring games, so if it just gets close to the thing, like you just feel this raise in the emotion and all that stuff. You kind of get that idea, but then you sit down and watch it yourself, and it's like this is just boring. I don't know who anybody is. The camera's pulled back from like a helicopter view. I might as well be playing a video game.
Yeah, well, what are the strategies and tactics here? What's their formation they're using? What kind of passing play is it? Oh, they're just kicking a ball back and forth. Okay. I understand the passion for like your thing, like when your team wins. Absolutely get that.
Yeah.
But I just that game in particular, it's like, I'm raised in this infrastructure rich country where our games are just super elaborate. Like we got drones flying around. We got, people drawing on the screen. We got tactical analysis. It's like 63% chance of a pass. It's like crazy stuff. All these chyrons flying around.
Well, I mean, it does, but you need that because it does take a lot to learn American football. Because it will, if you just show somebody the American football, they won't understand it. Like soccer, at least soccer at its base level at least makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
get the ball in the goal. I'm still always confused by offsides. Like I get it, you can't just like throw 16 players at the goal, but why not? Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, football's like it's like if you're raised around it, it's like, yeah, this makes sense. And you get into the minutia. It's like, that's pass interference. Nope, that isn't. It's hard to tell. It's ambiguous. But it's like, but if you're not raised with like cricket or something, it's like, yeah, good luck.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Ending that.
At least you can look at that and go like, this is almost baseball.
Look, it's base. What?
Where's the wickets? Oh, there is one.
The sticks or the catcher, or there's some... I mean, it's cool. It's all hard to do. So it's when the greatest people in the world do it, it's amazing.
Yeah. I just like there is something about cricket where it can just keep going on forever. Like there's a game there'd be like, oh, this one game lasted 3 days. It's like, why?
Yeah. It's a lot of beer, I guess, dude. I don't know who could take that much time off, but yeah.
No, it's all socialist sports, Nathan.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's all the commie sports. We don't understand.
That's why it's American football, because you better not break down, because then you're going to have to be entrusted to the American healthcare system.
Yeah. There's more than one incentive to win. A lot of money. Even though you're in the equivalent of a car crash every game.
Although I do imagine with the football players, they probably get the utmost care, and the team probably all pays for it. So
I think
it's when you retire that they don't give a shit about you.
Yeah, when you got guys like a quarter my age, 10 years younger than me, that don't know what's going on or where they are. It's like, no, that wasn't from football. It's like that. Yeah, right. It has nothing to do with the football.
Why are my knees bad? It's like because you played football. Like when? Like I don't know. How old do you think you are? Like 20? Look in the mirror. Ah. um.
Or you're doing that weird Joe Biden stuff where you give a speech and then just walk away and shake hands with somebody who isn't there. And it's like, whoa, what the hell?
That's living.
Yeah. I mean, he's having a good time. I just remember the first time I saw that, is like, is he pointing? Like, are they misinterpreting it? Like 5 more times. It's like, no, he's doing that. Okay. I don't know. Because I know during live performances, it is easy to get confused, and you're like, do I go this way or do I go, where do I go?
Yeah.
There seemed to be some of that, but there also seemed to be some of like, I think he's talking to someone who's not there. And that's weird.
Yeah, but when Trump does it, it's okay.
He doesn't do that. He does basically everything he says as a
Well, remember he said, like, let's just stop talking and let's play music, and just sat up there for 40 minutes?
Oh, yeah. He kind of gave the audience a choice there. It sort of implied, it's up to you guys. You just want to vibe? I don't know. He didn't say it like that. That would have been cool if he said it like that. No, he does a different, like, rambling. It's like he's just going to say stuff at you. It's not going to make any sense.
Yeah, it's because he doesn't stop talking. It doesn't seem like there's a problem.
Yeah. It's just like
he's not going, where was I? He just goes right into the next thing.
Yeah. I was talking to these guys. It's werewolves, giraffes, and triangles. And it's like,
it's better to be in a boat with a battery than a shark in the water. Or something,
yeah.
Whatever the hell that was.
Perfect sense. I mean, everything's fine. Okay.
Well, you're listening to Verhoeven Effect. We have another very special episode. We have a
very special political episode for you.
2018 movie Upgrade. Nathan, do you have a history with a 6-year-old movie?
It's one of the first things I watched on Netflix.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I remember. It's like, what can I watch on this weird service that I just got into? And it's like, yeah, this was one of the first things I watched.
Huh.
And it was suitably like weird and upsetting. It's like, cool, I hope we have more of this stuff, because this was kind of cool.
Yeah, I remember I saw the trailer and I thought it was cool, and then it just pretty much disappeared from theaters, because even though it says this has like a $5 million budget, it only made like $11 million. It's like, well, that must be a complete failure then. So
yeah.
And then but it was a cool trailer, and then I watched the movie. It's like, no, it's a cool movie. It's like, it's too bad nobody else saw it. But
yeah, this should have done better. There's a lot of things I always liked about this movie did well.
Yeah.
It's like, well, people aren't exactly superhuman, but they're human enough where it's like scary and ridiculous for them to fight. It's like, yeah, they've got the right balance here.
And they have a unique fighting, like, kind of style to it, because the guy's like, the only thing he can control is his head.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked very cool. Because I always like the Terminator on Terminator fights, but they always just kept shark jumping. It's like, now we're going through walls and off buildings and into the propellers of helicopters or whatever. And in this movie, it's like, no, there's limits to the fight. They're just weird and awkward. They're machine-driven fights with human bodies. Like, so it's not moving correctly or in a way they normally would. It's like, huh, okay.
But I forget, like, either rented this movie or maybe I just went right to Netflix. But I was like, oh man. Although I am more interested in that Invisible Man movie, because apparently it's the same team came back into that movie, and I did hear good things about it, so I'll have to watch that at some point.
It's interesting. It's disturbing,
okay,
but it's interesting. Whoever the woman is, she's the same woman from The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
That woman has been more victimized on film than the female actor of the last 20 years. It's like the stuff that happens to her is just insane.
What's her name? Is it Peggy Olson, or is that her character from Mad Men? I can't remember.
I don't know. Let me look that up.
Yeah. see how off I am.
Elizabeth Moss. Yeah. Yeah. And I thought she was British. I guess she's American.
Yeah, Peggy Olson was her character from Mad Men. So
Okay, yeah. She said the worst stuff happened to her. Fred Armisen's her husband? I did not know that. Oh, not anymore. Oops. Long time ago, as a matter of fact.
Okay. I've heard some not great things about him. So
Really? I just knew him from Portlandia and
yeah.
other.
Well, he just kind of. I guess he's just more of an asshole. Did you ever see his stand-up he did? I think it's a Netflix special, but he's like a professional drummer too, and he like made a comedy special where he was like on drums.
Huh. Okay. No, I didn't know about that. I just thought he was just some quirky comedian.
Yeah, I mean that's usually what he's best at. Like I think I attempted to watch that special, and it's like this is interesting, anyways.
Yeah. Wow, I'm glad I tried to watch this. Okay. I'm not smart enough to get this.
But yeah, Upgrade here basically stars almost no, it doesn't star anyone. This is basically like the director is the most famous person in this movie, so, which is probably why it's so cheap. So
Yeah.
although I was expecting everyone to just be Australian with American accents, but the main guy is actually like American, so I was like, oh okay. So the director is like I think it's Leigh Whannell. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah. That sounds like an Australian name.
He is basically attached to the hip with James Wan because they like wrote and made Saw together, and so they're producers on all those movies. James is a bit more successful in what he does, but Leigh Whannell here also does successful low budget stuff too. I think he wrote like the Insidious franchise, which that's pretty big horror movie franchise. James has his Conjuring franchise, which is a way bigger, low budget horror movie franchise. But also like
Star Wars of horror movie
but he directed like a Fast and Furious movie. He did the last two Aquaman movies, so maybe he'll get back to making, more interesting movies again. Although I never saw the second one. That first Aquaman movie is way better than it has any right to be, because like everybody thinks like Aquaman, that's got to be the dumbest movie ever, and you watch it, it's like it's fine.
It's kind of cool.
Oh hey, it's what's her name that played Catwoman in Batman Returns?
Oh,
Michelle Pfeiffer. That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah, like the Leigh Whannell and James Wan, they still work together occasionally because they kind of cross paths. Because I think James directed one of the Insidious movies, and Leigh wrote some of them, and these are producers on other ones. Like James did Death Sentence, which feels a lot like this movie, but like but that was a completely different crew. That wasn't him and Leigh getting together. So, but yeah, so they haven't like parted ways or had some nasty like it's like I can't deal with that guy anymore. They just kind of have their own circles now. Just James's circles are a lot more expensive and make more money. So, yeah, it stars Logan Marshall Green. I don't know anything he's in. He's like a bit character, everything. Although I was surprised he's not really that. Like this movie didn't seem to give him a boost. I don't know, but I mean he's back in I don't know. Does he have a starring role in the Invisible Man movie? Is he the Invisible Man, or what's going on there? Or is he just kind of a bit part?
That I don't know. Let me look him up.
Okay. I think he's in that one. And we got Melanie Vallejo, who is like doesn't even have like a picture on Internet Movie Database, but she's done a ton of TV, and she was like in one of the Power Rangers like series for like 100 episodes. And then Steve Danielson, who I think is just the bad guy in this movie. Maybe is he? Let me look. I have the unfull screened Internet Movie Database, so it becomes all weird when you do it that way. don't know. Benedict Hardy is the
Oh, okay.
he's the bad guy. I don't know who Steve Danielson is. Maybe he's Aaron.
What does it say
No,
here?
it says his name is Jeff Hanley, and I don't even remember who that character is. I don't know why he gets third billing. I don't even know who his character is. Is he just one of the bad guys? Do you remember anybody named Jeff in this movie?
Jeff Handley? No, I remember there was a guy named Cirque. There was a
Yeah.
guy named Fisk.
Yep.
There was Detective Cortez.
There's
There was
Tolan.
Gray Trace. Yeah, Christopher Kirby. And Linda Cooper is Pamela. And no, I don't see anyone. Harrison Gilbertson played Elon Musk, or I'm sorry, Aaron Keane. Kai Bradley played Jamie. That was the hacker person.
Is Jeff the guy that owns the bar? Maybe.
That could be.
That's like.
I'm not getting a full cast list here, so
That's like. I don't think I've seen a third billing of somebody who I don't even know who they are in the movie, but that's probably Steve Danielson.
Steve Danielson. Yeah, I'm not getting that.
So yeah, this just must be an error of Internet Movie Database because oftentimes we're like, there's more famous people in this movie. I don't know. I am just quickly going through the screenshots of the movie because sometimes they'll have people there if they're listed.
Any luck yet?
No. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, this must just be an error of Intermove Database. But again, this also is explaining my point that like you don't know anybody in this movie. And I feel like nobody really got boosted by this movie. I don't know, do you ever hear anybody talk about this movie? I think this is a really cool movie, so
No, I don't. It's kind of one of those movies. It's kind of like Hardcore Harry.
yeah.
Like it was cool, it was grisly, violent. It was like you hadn't seen anything really like it before.
Yeah.
And it just sort of like disappeared. But anyone you show it to is like, that was a cool movie. It's like, yeah, it was. I don't know what happened.
And then that guy doesn't that guy come back and make the Nobody movie, and now there's going to be a Nobody 2. So
Yeah.
have you seen Nobody?
Yes.
Okay.
With the Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has one of the coolest bus fight scenes ever. It's like, oh, this is how people beat the crap out of each other. It's like, because when you punch someone in the head, guess what they do? They scream. They don't get up and like, do it again. It's like, no, that's not what happens.
But yeah, what are other Leigh Whannell credits? I think they're working on. I think his upcoming stuff is they're working on a series for Upgrade, which that would be cool. And then he's doing a Wolfman movie that's supposed to come out next year.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm guessing they're just doing that at Blumhouse. Just like we're gonna make the universe of the the monster universe that Universal wanted to do it, but we can do it because it's all public domain now. So.
Jason Blum and Ryan Gosling are the producers on this.
Yeah.
So actually, yes, this was based on the failure of the Mummy. The fact that you could, you don't have to pay anyone for the rights to this stuff, and you can just kind of write your own name because it sounds like it's a modernized retelling of it.
Yeah, but I haven't seen Invisible Man. It's probably going to be along those lines. And there's also connections from Invisible Man to this movie because what was it? The company Cobalt is the company in that movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's like this is the most futuristic of that universe.
Yeah.
Because this is set in like what 2050 or something.
I don't know if I ever picked up on a date. It is just the future, so I can't remember a date, but I don't know.
Somewhere I thought I heard they said it was like 2048 or something like in the background.
Yeah,
They definitely have like more advanced technology than we do.
Yeah. But there's still like old stuff hanging around, so.
Yeah, they're not like 300 years in the future.
What else is? But yeah, an Upgrade TV show would be cool. I don't know like where they pick up. Do they just retell this story in a longer form, or are they like can pick up from what this movie left off at?
Are they going to make it a long, like, ponderous story about the nature of man and artificial intelligence? Oh yeah, no, they already did that. It's called Westworld. They'll probably go that way.
Well, I mean, also like a thing around this time, there was the Deus Ex Humankind video games,
Yeah,
which came out before this, which was all about like I was liking that one because like we're like cybernetics really come into fold is in Detroit. Like
yeah,
Detroit becomes the new like major manufacturing source of cybernetics in the world. So, and it's also not, and it becomes a different thing because now it's about like now there's like this racism between people with cybernetics and people without cybernetics because obviously people with cybernetics can do your job 10 times faster than you, but also now they're in debt to the company that they paid to get the cybernetics from.
yeah. It's always like, yeah, the war in society towards, it's like, how can we make labor cheaper
Yeah.
and exploit the people? It's like, oh, we can get them 3 different ways.
Yeah, we'll make them work twice. We'll make them work 10 times as hard, although they won't feel it because now they have cybernetics, but they'll be in debt to us at the same time. um, which that's something in the Ghost in the Shell TV show that they pick up on a lot. Because like a lot of the cops in that show were just like, oh, these are people just veterans of a terrible war, and like they either like were implanted with cybernetics that were early on, or they were scarred in the war and had to have something replace the cybernetics, and now they're working as police officers because they still have to like pay off some sort of debt, even though it's like, well, I was a soldier. Why didn't you give me that to me for free? It's like, well, because it was mega corporations run everything now. So you went to war with a mega corporation, not a country.
Yeah, yeah. Different papers and statues now. It's old stuff.
But yeah, but there's also like the loss of humanity due to cybernetics versus people being left behind by staying natural and stuff like that. So that's always which here they kind of like they hint at it here, but they really don't like lean in on it all. But this movie's like only an hour and 39 minutes, so it's like they just got to get through the mystery of who killed my wife. So
Yeah, this movie's like, yeah, it's Australia masquerading as America, and they have to shoot a lot of it in a warehouse. So yeah, they're kind of stuck with what they got. Um,
yeah, director is Lewinall, cinematographer is Stefan Ducio, I
I'm
think.
guessing so. Yeah,
Our fourth Australian cinematographer in a row.
there's a lot of them.
And they must be cheap too, because also the last two movies we've done have been Blumhouse movies, which they're notorious for being cheap.
Yeah,
Even though these movies don't look cheap, um, these are like high end Blumhouse movies. Like Blumhouse can make some real fucking garbage. They're
like $100,000 movies and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
they're a content factory that also have their high end stuff, and their high end stuff seems to be well curated, so that you will think more well of Blumhouse, of their stuff that makes it to theaters, and then you'll see garbage on streaming services that you have no ideas from them. But it's like, well, they got paid to put content on there, so they don't care. So I think it's also like a Canadian, so that's another way they save money is being Canadian.
well, like we talked about before, we talked about Australian cinema. Is in the '70s, Australia. I mean, they were the original, like the concept that Canada came up with, where it's like we'll give you huge tax breaks and we'll pour all kinds of government money into having kind of a turnkey film industry here. That was originally an Australian idea. Australians
Oh,
started
okay.
doing that in the '70s and '80s, and the Canadians picked up on it in the '90s. Their first big breakout was like, well, because Australia, because of the distance, it's like, well, you're doing movies there if you're doing anything.
Yeah,
And then Canada's like, hey, you can do TV because you're right next door. Like, you don't
yeah.
need to fly 10,000 miles. Excuse me, everyone. Fly 10,000. Oh, no. Now something weird's happening. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. It hit the keyboard too. So
Okay.
I think we're doing okay now.
You
But
sound
yeah.
fine to me, so.
Okay. Good. Love it. way still. But, so that was kind of that's why there's so many like Australian filmmakers and
Yeah, well,
great
and Leigh
movies.
Whannell and James Wan are both Australian, which is kind of funny because when they did their first movie Saw, they shot it in America, like in
Mhm.
L.A. in a week. um,
Yeah, somewhere in like the city of industry or some hellhole like
yeah,
that. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. They just shot in a warehouse in L.A. Like, yeah,
yeah,
but I was again that was also similar to like Nightcrawler, where it's like, well, all the shit's in L.A. So if you know how to make L.A. look kind of new, you can be really efficient with filmmaking.
yeah,
Rather than like we're filming this in Atlanta and we had to ship everybody over from California and now everyone's mad at the hotel they're staying at. Whereas like, like when you're shooting Nightcrawler, it's like, well, we shot at night and then I went home.
yeah. I got to have breakfast in my house. It'd be the best movie ever. I'm not going to be like sabotaging the production with anger. Yeah.
um, although I've heard some people say that sometimes that works the other way, where it's like now they're in their hometown shooting a movie and they're angry and they bring the anger home. So it's like I'd rather shoot away from home. So,
Yeah.
although I feel the closest you can be to work, the better, because it's
Oh
easier
yeah.
to just drop
I can only
everything.
make movies if we're shooting them in my backyard.
But let's see here. What else? I mean, this is pretty much the most famous thing that this Stefan Disco has done. He also came back and did The Invisible Man, which basically like everybody from this movie did the Invisible Man movie, and then everything else I'm guessing is just Australian stuff that I don't know about. I think this
Yeah.
guy also. I think there was a movie called Jungle he did. He also worked. That was the Wolf Creek guy, because that Wolf
Okay.
Creek guy also gets around. Which I never heard of this Jungle. Is George McLean's the Wolf Creek guy, which is basically like Australian, um, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a good movie, but it's kind of like for how much movies it spawned and careers it spawned. It's like I don't think it's that good, but it is a good horror movie. So, um, but yeah, I never heard. Yeah, it's some true story with Daniel Radcliffe stuck in the jungle. So
Oh, okay.
never heard of it, but I'm guessing maybe there's a lot of Daniel Radcliffe movies that are ever since Swint's Army Man. Like, what are you gonna do? So,
Well, that's a tough one to follow.
I just great that he like has this like does all these like children's movies and then like it's like, well, now I'm gonna be an actor, and he just does the strangest things possible. It's like, well, he's enough a celebrity that he could do bigger movies, but he kind of uses his celebrity to do smaller movies to get them made, I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably. And
What
he
was that
probably,
one? What was that
probably
one?
not much pressure either.
Yeah.
Like I can have fun doing this.
Was that one he did? Was it called Akimbo, where he has like the guns strapped to his arms and he has to like run around and try not to get murdered or something like that?
I remember something like that.
I remember there was one where he's like turning into a devil, which that one's like almost good, but it's ultimately is very uneven. It was like I think it was like a Netflix one, but
Is that the one called Horns or whatever?
yeah, I think so.
I remember that. That one's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's Guns Akimbo is the one where he gets the guns strapped to his hands. And he's running around in a what do you call those, like sleeping um I can't remember what they're called. Oh well. Those things that he just like has like the just kind of has like the little wraparound thing and he kind of put on a robe or whatever. Yeah, he's got a sleeping robe on
Oh, like a night. Yeah,
and a
like
bear
a
claw.
yeah.
Yeah, and bear claw feet. um Oops, I probably didn't mean to call it. I don't know, I guess we get. Oh wait, no, there's more. Oh yeah, Leigh Whannell wrote this, and oh yeah, we went through the cast. Nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, they did a
uh,
fine job, but yeah,
yeah, no, I think this is a pretty good movie. I think it's even better when you realize how like how little they had to make this movie with, like including like buzz and importance. It's like nobody cared this movie got made. Nobody cared, but it's a good movie. So. Yeah, I guess we'll get into it. Yeah, Act One. So we get the credit, the logo for Blumhouse shows up. So this is like another Blumhouse joint, because so was Get Out, which I'm guessing. I don't know how long they've been around. They kind of popped up, like, it seems like to me fairly recently, for a company. But yeah, they mostly make a lot of horror movie stuff, and their stuff's very inexpensive. I feel like they're kind of like the new Lionsgate, because it seems like Lionsgate is like completely falling on their ass.
Oh, okay.
Which Lionsgate is also Canadian, so they made a yeah. What is the latest Lionsgate fail? They made a lot of they banked pretty hard because they got a lot of money from the Hunger Games,
Okay.
and then they banked pretty hard on like those YA novel adaptations being pretty big, and then they've kind of fell on their ass recently. Yeah,
Oh,
what's the latest Lionsgate failure? They send me emails for some reason. I don't know why I'm on their email list.
it's interesting.
Oh, they produced the American Ghost show. That's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's what, maybe I'm thinking of. Did you see the trailer for Ballerina?
No.
Oh, it's like the next John Wick movie.
Oh, yes. Okay. Now that you say that, yes, I have seen that.
And like I thought it was a cool trailer, but then I read and then it's like directed by the guy who did like the Underworld movies and They Lived Free or Die Hard, which I always thought he was a good action director. It was like, cool, he's getting back into action, and apparently they made it sound like he shot a bunch of shit, and like the guy who's in control of the John Wick franchise basically reshot half the movie himself, and then they just kicked that guy out. So it's like,
Uh oh.
oh, that's weird. Again, it's Hollywood, so no idea if any of that's true or if you just I know. I feel like that's not good marketing to say how like what a failure a movie was, and you had to have somebody come in and save it. So I don't feel like that's what the narrative they want to put out there. Apparently they released Megalopolis, but they didn't put any money behind that because that was all.
That was all privately funded.
Huh? I don't see. It's like, well, all the movies coming out, I don't recognize any of them. Apparently, there's Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. Oh yeah, there's that Crow movie which I heard was terrible, the new one. They put out 1917. Wow. Okay. Oh well. Anyways.
Oh, that, yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah. So, yeah, Blumhouse production, but then we get like an AI voice like reads the production company credits, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And then she just says the title Upgrade. So you don't actually see the title Upgrade. You just hear it because it's kind of like doing the voice modulation or the sound waves of the voice. So you don't see the actual credits.
Yeah.
Then we open on a record player in a garage. We see a guy working on the engine. He's working on a T-top Firebird, which I guess is a pretty cool. I mean, that's one of your favorite cars, isn't it? The T-top.
Yeah,
Firebird?
I've always liked those. Yeah.
Okay. Although I was curious as to like what significant it was to Aaron, like what nostalgia is he grabbing onto that he wants a T-top Firebird. And did they have to ship this to Australia, or did they just have one there?
They probably have one there.
Okay.
They have Australia's the only other culture I know of besides the United States that has hot rod culture, car
Yeah.
culture. So they probably had one there. Of course, it probably had to have like poles welded on the front to deflect or something.
This character is Gray Trace, played by Logan Marshall Green. It's an interesting name. Does that even? I feel like that's supposed to mean something, Nathan. Does that?
I put that in an anagram generator and nothing came out.
Okay.
So I think it's just it's like, oh, this sounds vaguely futuristic because I thought it was an anagram for something.
Okay.
But no luck.
Well, I've heard like the color gray and like something with gray matter, but then there's Trace, but that doesn't really mean anything other than he's like following people in this movie. But I don't know if it's just the screenwriter got tired of like making up new names and they just threw something together. So
yeah, if there's deeper meaning, I couldn't find it.
He starts the car and he says, "I love you" when the car starts. Then he grabs a beer and he heads outside. We see an automatic car pulls up to the house. This is his wife, Asha Trace, played by Melanie Vallejo. Which again, we're not supposed to know who that is, and her photo's not even in her movie database. But she was in a lot of TV. She played a Power Ranger.
Oh, okay, cool.
In Power Ranger Mystic, they had they didn't really have like continuing storylines of the original Power Rangers. They just kind of came up with new sub brands, and now it's the Power Rangers. Because I remember there was like Power Rangers Space, where they basically used all the props from like Starship Troopers to
Oh,
make the show, and so the show actually like it looked like way
a lot
more
of
expensive.
production value here.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, they really went all out on this.
That was always like the great thing about the initial like cash grab of that show is like, well, we'll just film some white people like pre the action sequences, and then we'll just say those are the people in the action
Yeah,
sequences.
that's the beauty of costumes and suits. It's like, yeah, it's the same person. It's like the actor's clearly like a foot and a half tall. No,
um, we see that Asha like embraces new tech, and then that Gray likes old fashioned stuff. So basically like he's working on a car that uses gas, and that seems like pretty rare in this world. And the record player, basically he's much of a luddite as you can get in this world. Although I wouldn't call a luddite a guy who can build an engine and make a car work. I wouldn't call him a luddite usually, but
yeah, that technology by 2046. Let's see, how long have they had effectively had cars you could work on since about 1912? So, yeah, it's maybe 100 some years old, but yeah, it's not that old. It's not like this is what my grandfather's grandfather did. Like, no, it's not been around that long. Especially that car would date back to like my. So let's see, that's like that would be when I was born. So that would be like
well,
a 70-year-old car at this point.
when did Star Wars come out? Was that 77?
79, I thought.
Came
Maybe
out the
7.
same year as Alien?
Nah, maybe it was a year before. I thought it was 78.
77. So
77, okay.
because I know a fun story mom and dad told me one time is that like they were going to go see Star Wars, and like they heard about this thing. It's like, oh, this is going to be big, and so they go to the movie. They lived in the South at this time, so I don't
Yeah,
know where.
Georgia, I believe.
And so like they go to the movie theater, it's just line around the block. It's like, oh, like man, people are really here to see Star Wars, and they were not there to see Star Wars. They were there to see Smokey and the
Yeah.
Bandit, which came out the same day as Star Wars, which features a T-top. Wait, that's a T-top Firebird, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah,
It's really why they're famous.
yeah. Don't you have interesting stories of like you knew people who used to steal the T-tops and sell them back to people for like $3,000 and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
on Corvettes,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. No, I knew people that stole the entire window assemblies out of them. And then, hey, I got one. Oh, you do? I'm missing one. Hey, small world, huh? Yeah, it's like, oh boy, that's ballsy.
And also, like, didn't you say like, yeah, T-tops are cool, but it's just a great way to have a leak in your car?
Yeah, it's a fun way to find out. It's like, wow, there's a lot of thick rubber seals here. What could possibly go wrong? And then when it rains real hard and you're driving, drip. And then you got to like park somewhere, and it's like, can we get out of the rain and park? It's like, not really. So yeah,
what
the
are
reason they don't do them anymore.
yeah? Well, why did they do them in the first place? It was like for a look, or is it to like have almost a convertible, but like still have the structure like with of like a whole A and B pillar connected together or whatever?
I'm not sure the exact reason behind it. I think it was because it was like, I don't think you had to reinforce because structurally it was still sound
Yeah.
through the top. Like you didn't have to do the convertible thing where you have to reinforce the body. I think it looked cool, and because you could like the back seats were basically designed to store those things. So you could just take them out and it would look cool, and then pop them back in. But then yeah, that was something that kind of came and went because they still have moon roofs and stuff, but They don't do that anymore. And so for some reason, some people still have convertibles, but they don't. Yeah, you don't see T-tops much anymore. I don't know if you see them at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I remember that.
Mom and dad's like SUV, like they have that just
Yeah.
soft glass roof, like
Yeah.
that. Those are cool, but yeah.
Full length moonroof.
Yeah.
Well, they have a. I remember there was a cool. It was like this is probably like 10 years ago, but what they came when Chevy came out with their new Camaro. There's a sub company that would make you. They would take a Camaro and make it look like a modern day Trans Am if they had made a version of that.
Yes,
So
I remember.
they also did a Firebird and a Firebird T-top version, which seemed awesome, but I'm sure it was like 140 grand to make that happen. So.
Yeah, you're buying a new car and you're putting in, twice that cost back into it. Of course, because you're extensively modifying it. Well, there's no warranty anymore. So yeah, those are things you dream about, but it's like, well, that's not going to happen.
Let's see. Oh yeah, it seems like Asha like makes the money in the house, and then like he kind of just does this side business of putting together cars for rich people. So I don't know how lucrative his business is or how much money he's making, but it's a cool job.
Based on what cars like that sell for now, he might be the breadwinner of the house. They're selling, 78 Cordobas for $60,000 now if you can restore them.
Yeah, but he's only got 2 cars, so it's like I don't know how much business is coming in, but if he can sell one, basically he's a modern day artist in this world. So.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys that welds like bits of metal together and puts it on display.
Then we cut to a shot of the city. It's like it's basically just a big futuristic city. Yeah, there's also a lot of like I think I'm not sure how much they took from this movie, but a lot of like the cyberpunk. I mean, the cyberpunk stuff and even William Gibson stuff. It imagines all this stuff before this movie. But then you had the cyberpunk video game and the stuff like the cartoon series that came out after that, where it's very close to what's going on here. But here it's just a a much smaller budget version of it. But you have we just have the city rebuilt, and then people have cybernetics and stuff. But here it's like more. Everyone seems to have cybernetic eyes.
Yeah,
like also cell phones. Your cell phone is your eyes, and your earpiece. That's your cell phone. Because I like there's a part that's like grab his cell phone and then he grabs his earpiece. And I'm like, oh right, yeah, that's the future. Although I feel like in the future they'd have something better than an earpiece, but no, it's fine. I'm constantly let down by earpieces, and then if I just like turn my head slightly a certain way, they just want to fall out of my head. So I want to.
Yeah, I've had good luck. So I have the Beats with the ear hooks on them.
Okay, yeah.
I really like those. Yeah, but I have the regular earbuds, and those never work.
Well, I hear the thing to do is to like go to like a place that does hearing aids, and you can get like you basically get like a what do you call it, a cast of your ear canal, and then they can make custom earpieces for you.
That sounds like the thing to do.
But I just never was like, well, they work the same time I work, so I don't know when I have time to like, hey, I can't work this week. I can't work Wednesday. I got to go get my ear cast for my earbuds. Asha's following. Well, actually, Asha and Gray are both in the T-top Firebird, and then their AI car follows them, which like, oh, that's kind of neat. So, because like, yeah, all these AI cars they're self-driving cars, and so you can just have them do what they want, and nobody drives them. So he's like the only guy that actually drives his car. And weirdly, these kind of do look like almost like Cybertrucks, but
yeah, I could kind of imagine that. Like, oh yeah, these are. This could be real.
I mean, they're basically just an SUV with like when they put kind of like flat plating on them. So that's kind of all they did here, but and then they just have like the inside is just like is like fully encased, and like so if you don't want to look outside, you don't have to. But there's, I'm not sure if it's like the structure is see through or if it just has cameras on the outside and it can just make the whole inside see through. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, it seems to be like some kind of advanced, like grid-like material, and I don't know if it's ever transparent from the outside in.
Okay.
It seems like from the inside out you can kind of control that, but I don't know if anyone could ever see it.
They come to this rock formation, and it's like you gotta, because he's like you gotta see this guy's house, and then we see this like two rocks stuck together like this, and like what's going on here? But then there's a staircase under it, so it's like Zelda or something. They descend down a long like staircase, and here they meet Aaron Keene, who's like manipulating a storm cloud, which I don't know if that's supposed to be like real or imagined or a if that's supposed to be like a 3D projection. He's like touching it and moving it and stuff. So Aaron's like a tech genius billionaire who's probably autistic because that's that's the thing to do. That's where you get the Elon Musk comparison.
Yeah. Well, also his name is spelled. Now you'd only know this if you saw subtitles, but his name is not spelled like ERIN.
Yeah, it's ERON.
So
it's
I'm
like Elon. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like they're doing no normal human would spell Aaron that way. Quirky country that used to exist or something. It's like that's where they spell names like that.
What is it like? What's the dragon novels? Is that Aragorn or something, or is that a character from Lord of the Rings?
That is a character from Lord of the Rings, but yeah, there is a dragon. I think it's called Aragon.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Aragorn is the actual name of Strider.
Okay. I knew it was confusing my fantasy stuff. So
yeah, it's they all kind of run together.
Oh, I don't. Again, I always say like if it's like orcs and elves and stuff, I have no interest. But if you put a laser there with the orcs and the elves, I'm like, what's going on?
Laser orcs.
This can happen. Somebody had to make that laser. It's not just magic pulled out of thin air.
Yeah. The world of Warhammer 40K makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's a technologically advanced society run by lunatics. It's like, yeah, absolutely. It's clearly is happening.
More blood for the blood god. Is that Warhammer? I can't remember.
It's something. I don't know. It's the Emperor, I think, in Warhammer.
Yeah, I think there's also blood. Well, let me see here. More blood for the blood god. Where does that come from? Yeah, Warhammer 40,000. Warhammer 40K. So
I didn't know like the meats back on the menu saying came from Lord of the Rings. The orcs said that when they were attacking something. Meat's back on the menu, boys.
So yeah, one of the Chaos Marines, they apparently worship the blood god, so they say more blood for the blood god. So
okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, there is the imprisoned immortal emperor that's been poisoned, but now is like sits on a throne and is technically alive in like some alternate universe while his body decays, but is also still alive somehow because if he as long as he is alive, warp travel is possible. So.
Or something is attacking from the it's something like that. Everyone says that's Donald Trump now. Emperor.
Oh man, we're gonna get our own Horus heresy.
Yeah, it's gonna be led by Barack Obama. It's gonna be amazing. It's not gonna be stupid at all.
We're not becoming an idiocracy.
No, we're going another direction. See, it wasn't idiocracy.
Oh, he made it. What? Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education.
Yeah, that's good news.
And well, last time I guess she was at the small business, like whatever Secretary of Small Business last time.
Oh, good.
But then, if you don't know, she's Vince McMahon's wife. So.
Yeah.
And
that was his daughter.
Huh?
That was his daughter. Is his wife?
That's his wife.
Okay.
Stephanie McMahon is his daughter. She's 30 years younger.
Vince McMahon's wife. She's seen some things. She's a hard.
Oh yeah. They're
No,
currently separated. If you want to
I
read about it, you can.
probably will.
Basically, I can't even remember what he got in trouble for, but I mean it was basically along the lines of sex trafficking, which I don't know if it was like a civil, it might have been a civil court thing, but it was basically like they hired this young lawyer to work at WWE, and they basically like, well, you're just gonna go around and have sex with people. That's what they hired her to do. It's like out of law school.
Wow. Yeah, you know that work you did, getting that JD degree and all. Nah, you're basically like a sex worker at this point.
Um, but yeah, the one uh wrestling reporter Dave Meltzer was like, I wonder when the media is going to report that she has a fraudulent education degree.
Yeah, that probably might be important to know.
But that's not going to be important to anybody that cares about this. So.
No, it's not going to matter to the people making the choices. Just the rest of us are going to be like, wow, that's horrible. It's like, yes. I mean, I was just curious when I know that what's his name? Matt Getz is not going to be the attorney general now, but
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for this because all the stories that come out, it's like, what about the guy that died at his house when they were playing some kind of suffocation knockout game and the guy died and they found him covered with semen and cocaine? It's like, this is probably something people want to know about because that's not just lurid, that's psychotic. Because that means somebody died after the fact, or something was going on there that probably wasn't like right wing and Christian. An Indian and you being covered in semen and cocaine. Unless you're really, unless you're into the sexiest part of the Bible, right out of Leviticus. I don't think that.
Well, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah, that's true. That could be. Maybe I'm just missing the.
It's a party of second chances. Yeah.
I'm focused in on just one, taking it out of context. Maybe there's a grand narrative there that I'm just not smart enough to see.
So does he get to like unresign from Congress then?
I don't know. I mean, the whole thing, as soon as I heard it, it's like, is this a joke? I made a pledge to myself. It's like, look, I'm not going down a rabbit hole every week of this guy's presidency like the last time. It's just like, oh, this is weird. Hope I don't die. Okay.
Well, I have Google News will feed stories sometimes, and I'm like, no, and it's always garbage. So I'm always like, never send me this again. And today I got one that's just straight from the Onion, which I haven't gotten before. So I was wait, is that true? I was like talking about, Donald Trump reveals this is a plan all along to like wrestle Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Like
that was the whole
yeah.
Yeah. And if that was the case, I'd be like, well played, sir. Now can like the adults actually run the country? Can we? No. Okay. Damn it. Yeah, because not anymore you can't tell. Like, is this from the Onion, the Babylon Bee, or CNN? Like, is this real?
And way off topic, but what is the Onion gonna do with all the Alex Jones assets?
Probably just run it the way it was, and just but this time just kind of acknowledge. Like have a big smiley face there when they're talking about, just as like, this was pure foolishness.
Yeah.
Right?
I heard that would be the funny thing is just keep the lunacy going, but now it's labeled as farce rather than.
Yeah, it says the Onion presents InfoWars, and it's just like bring all the staffers back, write all the articles, but there's just like the big smiling face of Peter Griffin in the corner. This is bullshit.
Well, I read there was a funny article of about the Onion described, they wrote a story about themselves acquiring it, and I don't know if the CEO they made it up or it's true, but then they talk about their parent company Octagon, and how they're really looking forward to learning new manipulation techniques to really manipulate America into giving them more money. So,
yeah,
it's like these are propaganda on a level we've never seen before. It's like I can't wait to implore it.
Yeah, is like the Onion, is this just for farce? It's like, no, we're expanding our operation.
Um, let's see. Here. Oh yeah, so Aaron, the billionaire, introduces STEM, which is just some sort of like AI chip you plug into anything because he says it'll talk to anything.
It's also
Uh,
the name of a college type of college degree too.
yeah, science, technology, and mathematics.
Engineering and mathematics.
Yeah, yeah. Which
I
I
thought
attempt.
me.
I attempted to get that, but then they do not let you into the college of engineering if you get C's in physics and chemistry and calculus. It's like, well, I
Yeah,
passed.
it's just bullshit gatekeeping. You know that.
uh, well, it's also like it's like I would love to be taught like calculus, like treated like I'm an idiot and try to teach me calculus, rather than what half of college is like. Well, you're all smart. Figure it out. It's like
Yeah,
the easiest job in the world.
yeah. Hey, you know this abstract theory? It's like, hey, if you're smart enough to be here, you know this already.
Yes,
I'm going
exactly.
to sit here and practice this yo-yo and speak in just some incomprehensible crunk. Um, yeah, have fun. Give me $70,000.
Let's see here. Then we cut to Asha and Gray are driven back by the self driving car. He kind of tugs on the wheel a bit to the annoyance of the AI. uh, but then you see the advantage of a self driving car because then Asha and Gray start making out in the car. So that's what you can
Yeah,
do with a self driving car.
that's a fun way to die.
Hey, I
Well,
mean they're not driving the
by
car.
doing what they love, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you rather the AI car kill you while you're just seated safely, buckled up in your seat, or
Drinking coffee, looking grimly out the window.
Gray recognizes they're going in the wrong direction. He mentions like they're going towards like some city. It's like, hey, that's where I'm from, which seems to be like a bad place where poor people are from that don't have technology. So
Yeah.
the car won't stop. It says it has some sort of malfunction. Gray buckles up Asha like in a seat while like just in the moment as like it crashes and Gray gets thrown about the cabin, which just looks pretty gnarly. So he just ping pongs about the cabin. Then some car pulls up behind him and empties out like the techno thugs. They cut Asha out of the car and then they pull Gray out and they hold them up. I think this is Fisk. He's just a creep here. He's like kind of claiming some like classism thing here, where it's like, you think I'm a bug or something like that, and it's like,
Uneducated worm or something.
yeah. Which like he takes off his mask and one guy goes like, "Don't do that," and then like, so this all does seem like a setup at first, but you just not know what like, is this starting some like weird class warfare thing or is it something else, which ends up being something else. So,
Yeah.
Gray gets shot in the spine and paralyzed. Oh yeah, Fisk just shoots Asha like in the stomach or whatever, and she's dying.
Yeah, they're basically using an upgraded version of Anton Chigurh's weapon from No Country for Old Men. It looks like a drill, but you don't know that, you know. But you think
Yeah,
it does seem weird because it doesn't seem like a gunshot.
yeah, no, just like
Yeah, it's like, what
it's,
are they doing?
it's like a grenade launcher sound, but just like this little medical tool. So
It's a 21st century captive bolt gun.
a drone films it all, but like to no avail. Like this, none of this drone footage will work out for them. So, uh, but yeah, we see like Gray is paralyzed, and he's just like he can like move his head, and that's it. And he's positioned perfectly to watch his wife die, which that's cruel. So, and then the cops pull up as you know the bad guys already left. We cut to Gray's in a hospital bed. He's like hooked up to machines. So I have that being the end of Act One. Got Act Two. 3 months later, we see Gray is in a motorized chair, and like it's like all the voices in the room are faded because he's just kind of like lost in his mind here. It's like a caretaker and his mom in the background are talking about like all the, because he now has a new house with like these robot arms that will assist him with things. Um, um, but they leave, and then Gray just like sits in silence as his chair like charges up. And he just kind of stews in the house in his thoughts. So it's like things aren't going well for him. Then we cut to his mom starts taking care of him, like dressing him, bathing him, and cutting his hair, and this makes him like extra self conscious, ashamed, and depressed, and he just starts crying. So, um, understandable. So,
Yeah, it's awful. And the
uh,
collegiate is like, well, why don't you just kill me? I mean, it's terrible.
uh, Gray and his mom meet Detective Cortez. She's a bit more of like a hands-on cop, which I guess is good and bad for them, because she like doesn't because it seems to be like automated AI stuff. Like this isn't your suspect, and she's like, "No, you're wrong, computer." So, um, but yeah, they hear the cops are like, "Yeah, we don't have any info on the guys because they had like the bad guys had guards that kept them from a surveillance." So he's like, "Well, what good is it then?" So,
Yeah, what's it doing exactly?
uh, then we cut to Gray try. Oh yeah, Gray tries to get the house AI to overdose him, which eventually it stops giving him doses after like I don't know, like 10 doses or something like that, and then he passes out. He wakes up in the hospital. Um, Here Aaron shows up. He's wearing a surgical mask. This is 2018, so he's ahead of the time.
Yeah,
So, he doesn't get out of the house much. He doesn't want to catch anything. Um, Here Aaron is offering his stem chip to like control his body, but Aaron needs Gray as a guinea pig, so because like he's subverting, like clinical trials by just getting a desperate person to do something. Which it seems like it'd be cheap for this guy to just buy a private island and do this on a boat somewhere in international waters rather than
right. Yeah,
do
this
what's on here.
seems like there's other ways.
But then the movie doesn't happen. So yeah. This movie has a lot of cool stuff, but it feels like it's very easy to pick apart. Like, why would that do that? Why would they do that? Why would the smartest thing in the world do this? But it's a movie. It's fine. They have a limited budget. They did as much as they could with what they had. So
Yeah,
um, here Gray says he's not looking for to have a new lease on life. He's looking for the off switch, and then Aaron responds like, "What would she want?" Then we cut to Gray's at Aaron's house getting the stem chip put in. Um, the doctors have special eyes where you can see I don't know if they have a whole new eyes or they just have contact lenses.
yeah. I'm not sure how that would work or what that would do. That seems like that kind of like ultra technology. Like, would they actually have that? It's
I mean that one guy in Dread had his eyes, but he had his old eyes ripped out and then put new ones put in. So I'm just not sure what's going. Because I always had the sci-fi idea of you have you have a heads up display, and so it's well, what if that was on a special contact lens, and so you have that, and then my idea for a fun thing is that to take a picture with your your contact lenses, you just blink your eyes and that takes a picture. Although it absolutely would make no sense because it means you'd be closing your eyes, but it would make sense for your eyes are the shutter,
yeah,
um, but here it just lets them do surgery. Although the surgery looks gnarly, it looks like they're just chopping up his spine and putting a chip in there. So.
I like the extra large scalpel.
Yeah.
The scalpel that's as big as a crowbar. It's like, where did they find that?
Yeah, they cut open his neck. They put a chip in his spine. Gray wakes up hearing a woman's voice, and then she's kind of forcibly moving his limbs around. She's like, it might take a while for it to take, but then his arms start moving. He stands with the help of crutches, but then he drops the crutches, and so he seems pretty happy about what's going on here. We see Gray signs a waiver, and then also he does a workout with his body, where it's he basically now just after being crippled for 3 months or something like that, and now he's running a marathon.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no atrophy there at all. Huh?
The chip makes up for it. It just it correctly does everything. So it just has a small margin of error to make an atrophy body work.
Yeah.
Gray gets home, but he's still in his chair because he can't tell anyone he got this procedure, so he has to basically pretend to be paralyzed whenever he goes out anywhere. So So that's like an interesting, but actually becomes an interesting kind of like cover for everything he does. So.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it kind of provides a certain, like, there's no way.
Gray pours some alcohol and looks over the evidence Detective Cortez left him. Then Gray hears a voice in his head. It's Stim, which now has a voice. And then Gray thinks he's going insane, which is funny.
Yeah, that is, and anyone would think that too. Start hearing voices in your head.
And he tells Stim to stop talking, and then of course it stops talking. So he's like, "Wait, am I crazy? What's going on?" Then he tells Stim to start talking again. Stim says it's like vibrating, like it's vibrating like the inside of his head to like send voice to his eardrums.
Yes.
And so Gray's like, "Can you read my mind?" He's like, "No," because basically like, yeah, because Gray still always has control of his head, but his body is like now independent. But he can like Stim allows Gray to use his body, but Stim is in control of his body essentially. So
Yeah.
But there's like more moments like where he's like says like, "Hey Stim, take control," and then Stim just literally does everything. Where here it's just him. Stim is taking command from Gray every time he's just walking around and stuff like that. But it's just interesting note thing because if you watch this movie again, you have to like watch Gray's head in every scene where like Stim does stuff, and you have to realize like why does this look so weird? It's like, oh, because he's a passenger to his body, but he can control his head.
Yeah.
So as his body's murdering somebody, he's like, "Why are you doing this?"
And he's saying it out loud too.
Yeah.
He's talking in his head, which makes it extra weird for him and everybody, because the people he's doing stuff to are like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, nobody knows what Stim is. They don't know what he's talking about. They can't hear Stim. But it seems like, although it is kind of weird, it seems like early on, it seems that like Gray has to be like looking at stuff for Stim to absorb information, and then later on, it seems like that isn't necessary. It just kind of omnisciently knows everything at some point. Because even like a part where like he walks in and like shoots two people really quickly, and he's not even like looking at them. So it's like,
Yeah.
where it's like early on, it's like its Stim is like, you need to like look at the screen so I can see what's going on, which you don't know if that's an act or just like an early onboarding process to this whole thing. So, but Stim says they know something in the surveillance system. Asha was shot with a gun inside of the guy's arm, so the gun is built inside the guy's arm, so they're like ex-military or something like that, or yeah, some assassin stuff for military. Which yeah, it's implied there's like some horrible war happened, and like these guys all got like cybernetic implants, and they seem to be both grateful and horrified by it, or maybe they're just horrified by war and now have these cybernetic implants, and so they both feel like they both have PTSD and also have a god complex because they're have stuff that makes them better than everybody. So
Yeah, the violence destroyed me, but now I love the violence. Or that weird dynamic.
Yeah.
Or they were just evil people that like just jumped into some other evil thing. Like, yeah, this is great.
Well, it was like the one part where the I think it's Fist is like, you should worship me, and like I thought he meant like veterans, but he meant like cybernetic people. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Stim spots a symbol, but like Gray's not able to make it out, and then Gray allows Stim to take over his hands to like draw the image, which is really cool. How they do it, it's like because his hand like basically draws like it's a dot matrix printer.
It's really cool. Yeah, they did a scene like that in iRobot.
Oh, okay.
Robot like took both hands and just drew this perfect like pen drawing really fast.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same thing. It's like, yeah, he drew a barcode.
And so it's like a Marine Corps barcode, so it picks up on like who this guy is, where he lives, and all that. Stim cautions Gray on bringing evidence that he can't explain to the police, which I think this is the first time you become suspicious of Stim. It's like, why would that matter?
Yeah, I mean, you basically say, I identified the guy. How? Well, I'm in a wheelchair and I have all this equipment. So I just spent all day like cross referencing. I'd be like, well, Stim, help me make an internet database search to make this possible.
Yeah.
Of like flying into a wood chipper.
Yeah.
It's like that. But, you know, it wouldn't be that interesting a movie
Yeah.
if Stim just like, well, we're going to work together to subtly deceive the police. No, we're going to go have very strange fights. We're going to have the most autistic fights you've ever seen. Yeah.
I just had the thought that this seems like this weirdly. I don't know if you get the same feeling, but does this feel like a Stephen King novel, but just without horror and with like technology instead?
Yes, it kind of does.
Okay.
It's
There's always something about Stephen King where it's like it's genius, but it's stupid at the same time.
Yeah, it's like, well, this only works in a world where like vampires are real. Because we put ourselves in this, like we would never act this way, but it's like, yeah, because vampires and stuff aren't real. So you don't need to think about how you would act, because what would you do in the case of a werewolf attack? It's like, stop reading the book. It's never gonna happen. So yeah, this is exactly like that. You're right. It's like it only works in this world.
And it's like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's like it's it's easy to like pick apart, but also it still works. So you just gotta let it be. So.
Yeah.
Gray waits in his wheelchair outside the Marine's house. What is this guy? It's Fisk's brother. I forget what his name is.
Yeah, it has a weird name.
Cirque, I think. Yeah, Cirque.
Cirque. Yeah, I was thinking Spock for some reason. Yeah.
My mind was like, was it like Serbian or something? I was like, oh, Cirque, yeah.
Yes, maybe. Who knows?
So yeah, the guy leaves, and then Greg gets up out of the wheelchair and breaks into the house. I think it's fun where like Stim's trying to figure out the best way to break in without like leaving a trace, and then he just has a lockpick set, and he's like, "I got this, Stim," and then he gets inside, and Stim's like, "Take your shoes off," and he never explains why. I'm guessing because
it come up.
I know like you hear him walking in there, it's very creaky, and I thought that's why I told him to take his shoes off. But it does end up being a thing slightly because it's a smudge of a boot print with oil on it that gives him away to Cortez.
Oh, that's right. So they do offer some reason. Okay.
Yeah. But I felt like I feel like a barefoot would probably leave more trace than a non-barefoot, but I don't know. Let's see here. They look through the messages on his table, but they aren't really coming up with anything because like Stim's kind of like cross-referencing things. Like, well, this comes up a lot, but they don't really get anything out of it. Then Gray starts going through Cirque's things. Then Cirque comes back to the house. Gray just like hides behind like a bookcase, but then Cirque sees his reflection in there, and Stim like tells him to attack, but then's like Gray's like, he's a Marine. Like, what am I gonna do? So he hesitates, and then Gray is getting beat up by the guy. This guy insists that his wife death wasn't his fault, so he doesn't know what that's about. Stim asks for permission to take over Gray's body, like as he's getting choked. Because also like, again, they make that point that Stim can't read his mind, so any direction he gives to Stim, he has to vocalize out loud.
Yeah,
which makes him look crazy, but also that's how this whole thing works. So yeah, like while he's getting choked, he says like, "I give you permission." And then his hands like, so yeah, then he's like immediately fighting back like effortlessly. So you see like his hands kind of like, and it's like his head is like slightly delayed behind like every hit and stuff like that. And then there's even one part where like the guy makes a punch and like Stim like forces his head out of the way of a punch by like kind of like moving his head with the hand. It's like, that's weird. It's like, oh yeah, because Stim can't control his head, so he has to push it out of the way. And then Gray's getting frightened by like the acts that his body is doing. It's like, yeah, stop it. And then Gray even tells Stim to stop. Oh wait, no, like, yeah, like he keeps telling the guy like, hey Cirque, like, hey man, don't get up, and then at some point Gray says to like to stop him means stop Cirque, and then like Stim does some crazy stuff with his body and ends up behind him with a knife and just like pulls the knife through his mouth and like cuts his throat and mouth in half basically. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty gnarly scene. You got the Kakahara mouthpiece going on here. Which then Gray has to go throw up, and like this whole time basically he's surprised by the things his body are doing, and he is also immediately afraid of like why Stim helping finding the people who murder his wife, and then just murdering them like as a first like as a first act of it's like, is there a better way to do this? But then it seems like, well, that's not what's going on here. But and also like Stim tells him to like clean up all the evidence he left behind. He's like, how can I remember that? And then like Stim's like, I remember every place you touched. And so they don't show up, but presumably he goes through and covers up exactly every print that's there except for one like boot print that's outside somewhere of the house. So
Yeah.
that has oil on it. I guess specifically engine oil. So then we got to Detective Cortez is at an autopsy for Cirque. They go over all his body mods, which is just like full of stuff. There's just like wires and stuff all over his body, which again, I don't know if that's like, because it seems like, I think Gray says he's an addict at some point. So I don't know if like all these cybernetics, like the downside is I think there's just a lot of constant pain that you have to manage all the time. And then you just end up being a drug addict.
We actually had pills all over his like desk.
Yeah.
But there are pills in like bottles, so
yeah,
maybe they're taking those pills to keep the pain of those foreign bodies being in their body, inside them. I don't know.
So yeah, then I hear him mentions like the engine grease boot print, which she's curious about, which she immediately connects that to Gray because she knows he like fixes cars, but like old cars, all the new cars just have electric engines, so there's no engine grease or anything. Although there's still like
there's still lubrication in the.
Yeah, that's why I was like curious about. It's like you still have to lubricate stuff in anything that has moving parts in it. So, but
yeah, and those electric motors also they generate a lot of heat. You have to have lubricant for that.
Okay.
And they have to be cased off from water and moisture, so there's like lubricant that also does that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So electric cars are not free of lubricants. So.
No.
They're still using oil.
Oh yeah.
Just a lot less.
Well, the transmissions are full of oil. That's
meanwhile, Aaron tells Gray that he's tracking him. So it's like basically like, I know you killed that guy. Like you're my property. You can't be doing. Then we come back and we see Cortez finds footage of Gray near the house. So it's like only these these roaming drones like only work against him. It's like, well, you can't see the bad guys, but you can see me.
Yeah.
But here's where like the computer AI says that Gray is not a match because he's quadriplegic. So, but she's suspicious. It's like, I think something's going on. Like it takes to the very end, or basically like, oh, this is what's going on. She doesn't like suspect this, but then she's like, because she thinks like he must be hiring some guy to do this stuff, but he's just caught up in the middle of it. Cortez shows up to talk to Gray. She's suspicious, but doesn't know why. Stim suggests going to the Old Bones bar to find more clues, which it's like a specifically non-tech bar in like his old neighborhood. So like it doesn't have an address or phone or stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, how does this place do business? Yeah.
Then we cut to Gray goes to the Old Bones. He gets a whiskey and has a guy hold the glass as he drinks it from a straw, which is pretty funny.
Oh, whiskey through a straw. What a sin.
It's got ice in it too. Is that okay?
Not really. Not if it's bad, yes.
Okay.
With whiskey, you don't need that. But
okay.
yeah.
Also, like Stem warns that he can't control his body as well if he's like drunk, which I thought that would be like something that would happen later on, but it's
I
just
thought I'd like get drunk on purpose to like
yeah.
mess with STEM, but you know, we got the clock running in this.
Gray gets everyone's attention to ask about Cirque Branterner because that's the guy he just killed. Um, this is a funny moment because he basically just explains the plot of the movie to the people and they all laugh at him and it's like it's like yeah, it's funny.
It's kind of a funny moment.
Yeah. Even he's in on the joke. Like he knows what he's doing here. So.
Yeah.
Then a guy gets up. Oh, was this like Talon or something? Yeah, Tolan. He threatens Gray and takes his earpiece because he says, "You know, I can call the cops." And he just takes his earpiece out. Then they take Gray to the bathroom with his wheelchair. Because yeah, they all think he's a quadriplegic at this point. So, yeah, they go in the bathroom. There's just a bunch of shell casings in the bathroom, like suggesting like
Crazy bathroom.
either like this is where shooting practice happens or this is where you kill people. I have no idea. So, the guy's like poking Gray's body with a knife and like so Stim says he's like doing something to like lessen the pain so he doesn't feel any of this, but except when he gets up to the neck then it's like then the Stim can't like help that part, so he's kind of like wincing from the neck when he gets poked in the neck. The guy Tolan admits to being there that night, and then that's when Gray lets Stim take over and he just beats up everyone in the bathroom. Like this is where they get more into like where they kind of like lock the camera on his head, and so there's kind of like everything outside the center of the camera is like very wishy and wavy. It's very cool looking.
Yes.
I imagine maybe this was sickening inducing in a theater, but it's very cool here. So it's something that makes this movie very unique, and I don't think any other movie has took advantage of this thing.
I've never seen it. I remember it the most in this one.
Yeah. Apparently they just put a cell phone on him and the camera just tracked his movements, so the camera just always focused on him, so that's how they did this effect or something.
Really?
So they had some kind of sensor on the phone that attached to the camera, and so it just always kept him in focus, and that's why everything kind of like on the outside of the focus is kind of like a washing machine. So
interesting. Okay.
I don't know, Nathan. Look up. You think this was shot in a Red 9? Look it up. It's a Red 1 camera.
This was shot with Alexia mini cams and
Okay.
Vision C cameras with anamorphic lenses.
Huh. Okay. Okay.
They also, they use the Alexa Mini to do a lot of the gyroscoping fight effects.
Okay. All right. So that's what's going on. They got a gyroscope that's tracking his movements.
Yes. It's what you call a small body $500,000 camera.
6 of the budget went just to that. So.
Yeah. Well, you lease them for a lot less.
Yeah.
Break them.
Stim wants Gray to use the knife on the guy to get information out of him, but Gray doesn't want to do that. So Gray gives Stim permission to like essentially torture the guy, and then even Stim's like, you can look away. Although it's weird, you hear Stim cut him up. There's like they make the cut away from the bar. You hear screaming, and even the bartender's like generally you want to do that to a crippled man or something like that because they have no idea what's going on in the bathroom. But then they cut back to the guy, and he's just got like dark cuts on his face. So it's like they implied something more horrific than what actually gets shown. So. I thought his like face was gonna be peeled open. It was just gonna be like this.
Yeah, like
muscle and skin.
Pan back, he'd be wearing his face like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
That was an interesting moment, though. That made me think. It's like even somebody who did something horrible, could I work a knife like just like an eighth of an inch under their skin and just start slashing them slowly? It's like I don't actually think I could do that. If they did something, I could stab the knife through their neck or something. I don't think I could just like put my thumb on the tip and just kind of work that up and down their face. That's nuts to actually sit there and do that to someone. So it was a scene that made you think, could I do that? Nah. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean that's why Gray had to close his eyes and look away and let the
Yeah,
machine.
that's what I liked about the scene. It was like, yes,
Um, he's told his wife's murder was a job paid by Fisk, which you don't know who. I don't know, because I don't know if we know if Fisk is the guy who shot his wife at this point. Like I thought it was gonna be like a bigger like tech boss or something like that, but it just ends up being Fisk. I mean,
yeah,
because ultimately we know it's all STEM, which is but um they see that Tolan has a cobalt implant, which that's his wife Asha. That's the company that she worked for. Which when she talked about her company compared to Aaron's company, like she made it seem like we're on the come up, and he's like, no, you're not. so, so you thought maybe there was implied some like, what do you call that? Um, industrial and espionage going on here, which that like it's like maybe Asha was working on something that was going to revolutionize, but then nah. So
yeah. You think that's going to be the connection before they reveal it,
yeah,
but she does say it's like, yeah, we made implants and things for veterans.
yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, she didn't say, because you're thinking, oh, they made replacement arms and legs when their arms and legs got blown off, but no, it seems like they were making darker stuff, like literal handguns. And stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, huh?
um. Let's see. Stem tells Gray that like Aaron is trying to shut them down, and they're gonna send a team to retrieve him because they're doing illegal things. um. So Stem has a plan to stop Aaron from doing this. Gray grabs a gun and a pen. Uh, we cut to like he takes his wheelchair outside. I forget. He says something. He says something smarky as he passes through the bar. It's like I see you guys or something like that or whatever. Then he goes outside and he parks next to like another veteran guy or somebody who's in a wheelchair, and he's like, "Can you watch this for me?" And then Stem takes over the body and it's Gray's body to sprint to the next spot because they don't have time to get there, and they apparently don't have a car or anything. So
And the guy in the alley in the wheelchair is like, "You faker!" And then he gets up out of his wheelchair and sits in Gray's wheelchair.
yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I see how the worm turns.
um. Then yeah, then the Gray gets to the hacker place that they got to get to like do some override so that Aaron can't take control of them. Um, and like Gray's like writing down the instructions on his arm, and it's like there's no way you can do that. So.
Yeah, because they're like command like coding functions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you get you get one like letter wrong, it won't work. So, um, yeah, Stem is shutting down, and Gray's losing his ability to walk, so he's kind of like shambling around here as he loses like parts of his body he can keep using. Then we cut to Fisk is brought to Tolan's body, and he like downloads the footage from Tolan's eyes, which is kind of funny. So, 'cause he has like the spike come out of his finger, and he just touches like the just the edge of his eye. So you're like, what is he doing? He's like, oh, he's rewinding the footage. So, but they get the hacker's location because as Gray was talking to himself, he was saying the address out loud, which I would have to do too because like it's another thing is like anxiety inducing in movies where it's like you need to remember this, you need to remember it now. It's like never in a million years am I gonna do that. It's like write it down, take a photo.
Besides being like really fat and out of shape, I could never be a spy because they always like yell things. It's like, remember the sequence of codes or whatever. Like, no, they'll like, burn this after reading it. No, it has the address on it. No, you got to burn it or the enemies will know. It's like, well, I might as well just not even tell me then. You can't remember like numbers and a sequence. No.
Yeah, it's basically yeah. It used to be a fun thing in like early '90s movies about hackers, and like the one thing was like the person would always like leave their password on a sticky note like on the desk.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's too easy. And then like, yeah, you're like everybody who does that is stupid. And then passwords have got so complex now that people just went back to having sticky notes with passwords on their desks. So.
Yeah.
uh, I can get that one password stuff and other things, and have Google remember it for you. Which,
I have something on Apple where it looks at my face and it's like, here's all your passwords. Like, cool. I actually have gotten better at remembering the ones I've had for 20 years.
yeah.
Are well, I have to change them all the time, but I've had the whatever program it is for so long, I always remember the password. But yeah, now that I'm throwing like hashtags and umlauts and shit, it's like, oh, okay, well, I hope I can remember this.
Well, I remember there was one thing I was taking. There was like, yeah, if you use dictionary words in your password, you're wrong. And I was like, well, how the fuck am I going to remember the password if it's just gibberish?
I used to have a random word generator program that would put random words together.
yeah.
Like it would say like sea brick or so, just put a bunch of numbers and letters and symbols around it. That
Yeah.
seems to work. No one's ever
Yeah.
like got in unless like the company holding my data gets hacked.
yeah.
And it's like, well, it doesn't matter what kind of pass. I could have like the Captain Picard purple password, and it's like, yeah, it's someone still got in. The weird password that data has to do.
Yeah.
It's like Picard, Epsilon, Beta, Delta, 2964615, some crazy shit like that. It's like
self-destruct has been activated.
yeah.
Yeah, there's yeah, because I heard that. Well, I mean, even this is like 10 years old, but like there used to be a thing about changing your passwords constantly, like every year or even like every like 6 months or something like that. But then it got to a point that you're making people change passwords so much that they're changing the passwords that are either easier to hack or because people just can't remember them. It's like I made one complicated password that I can remember, and now you want me to forget it and remember a new one. It's like that's not happening. So.
Yeah, it's dumb. And then, like I said, your data gets breached anyway.
Yeah, it's like it's never.
And not because of your password.
Yeah.
It's because the system administrator of the whole company was using the word password.
Yeah. yeah.
Like that is okay. I quit.
Let's see here. Gray. Wait, no, where am I? Oh yeah, like he downloads the footage and they know where the hacker is, so Fisk is going there. We cut to Gray's working his way to the hacker in a weird apartment complex with a bunch of light sticks strewn about. So I don't know if there was like a rave party here or what's going on, or this just looks cool on a low budget. Like it's like, hey, we can get 100 light sticks for like $30. It's like, all right, can we haggle them down?
Score, though, they're only good for 15 minutes. So at the scene.
Then Jamie answers the door. That's the hacker. As Gray loses most control of himself, although he does have like he can raise his hand up with cash in it, and she's like, "Huh, old school."
I did like how she looked at it and she said they do print the word God on it.
Well, yeah, it's specifically like it's dollars. It's American dollars, so it's implied that this is supposed to be America, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no one speaks in a foreign accent, so.
Well, no, like every other. I mean, even Jamie here has an Australian accent. There's like every other person has an Australian accent.
Oh, I didn't notice. I guess I never thought of it.
I mean, there is mostly American accents in this movie, but there are some Australian accents too. So yeah, Gray's. Oh wait, no. Let's see, where are we? Then we cut to Fisk is threatening the bartender for standing by while Tolan got killed, and he's like, "Well, how was I supposed to know a quadriplegic was killing 6 people in the bathrooms?" And then the bartender like pulls a gun on him, but then he like kills the bartender with a sneeze. Like they zoom in and see like little nano machines with daggers, and goes in and eats his brain apparently. So it's like, oh, that's fucked up. So, like, did the military give that to him? Did he make that himself? Like,
yeah, there seems to be a lot going on here, not explained.
I bet that's just one, like, here's a cool idea. We're going to throw it in the movie and move on. So,
yeah.
Maybe the TV show will get into it. I don't think the TV show is a promise. It's just one of his up and coming things. So, which that's never a promise that it's even in production. Do you see that Facebook garbage where it's just like a bunch of AI images of movies that they pretend are coming out like next year?
Yes, and it pisses me off because it's like, oh, they're making a sequel to that, and then you watch it, and it's clearly like just generative AI image
Yeah, it's
movies,
yeah,
and
it's and I've unfollowed like 70 of them. They just keep popping up. It's like somebody's clicking on this garbage. Like I don't want it.
I used to
Somebody's making
report it
money
as offensive.
on
It's like it's offensive to me. Why is it? It contains pornography.
it. This just contains lies.
Yeah, it's not what I wanted. It's not true. It's
uh,
also using copyrighted material. Do you ever heard like the world of like trailers on YouTube? The complex legal balance of how that works.
uh,
Well, because you get if you get enough clicks or whatever, you get paid for
yeah.
it. And but if you're just a YouTube channel that runs trailers of movies that are coming out from other companies, it's like, well, that's their property. You can't
Yeah.
get paid for that. But there's all these things that just run trailers all the time. So they have to they have to constantly, they have the demon squad out there taking them, like they don't take them down, but they just demonetize them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a lot of work that is.
Well, I'm guessing a lot of that's automated by now. So,
Yeah.
because we got struck by some of that stuff on Hulu on American Greed Factory, and that's why we don't have music anymore on our stuff. So, because
Yeah.
nobody lets us have fun anymore. So.
That's why Nathan sings on the podcast. In case you're wondering, like, why is that guy who clearly can't sing doing that? It's like, well, it's the only way I can play the song.
All right, I play some piano sometime and replicate it. It's a live performance by a poor musician that I am. So, yeah, Greg gets brought into this place where like there's a bunch of people living in VR, which is kind of weird. This is also maybe like the height of like, hey, maybe VR will be a thing again.
Yeah.
This is like its third try.
10 years that comes around and then it goes away.
Yeah. Although this last time it was really good, but it's still too much of a hassle. So, you need a lot of space to have that be fun, and then it's still just a hassle. So,
yeah,
because I got a VR headset. I let you play some of the games, and it was cool for that moment. You let it play it, but like, I have to undo my room to make it so that I can play those games, and really the last good one was the Half-Life Alex game, which was worth it. Like that was a great game. It's like the only like Half-Life sequel you're gonna get for the rest of your life. So
as close as it gets.
Yeah.
And I don't even, did they still have the Apple things?
Oh yeah, that garbage. Yeah, they're probably out there.
Yeah.
It was like $3,000 or something.
I don't know. Let me look.
Is that like Apple Vision or something like that?
Yeah. I'm just curious how much they are.
Oh yeah, they're like $3,000 or something like. Well, maybe they're like they're over $1,000.
$3,500.
Oh yep. Apple Vision Pro. Yep.
Yep. I didn't know if they were still doing them.
I don't know.
I mean, I assume that was just a development thing. Like,
yeah,
because that AI stuff comes along every so often, and or not AI, the virtual reality stuff comes along like every 10 years, and then it goes back into the box.
Yeah, well, that was the weird thing because Google Glass seemed like to be like almost there. Like it was very simple stuff, but it was also like it was just kind of extra thick glasses, and you had kind of a little display that went in front of your eye that wasn't too goofy. Like it's something like, well, with a little more design and making some stuff smaller, like you could see that being a reality. And then they just canned the whole thing. It's like, don't you have more money than God? Why not just give it a little more development time? But whatever. So.
It probably was never really what they said it was. It probably just, it's like, it'll never actually work.
Yeah. Because you do have to like, I think the only thing that really worked was like the voice command stuff, and then you just seem like a psycho, like in this movie. Like that's how it would be. So, but I don't know, that's how much more psycho than people just wearing earpieces talking on the phone.
I was gonna say I walk around in public with like noise canceling earpieces. I don't even hear other people, and they still look at me like, "What?" It's like talking on the phone. Oh, wow, really? It's like, yeah, we've been doing this for 20 years at this point. This isn't, it's like new.
um, but I do think like the thing the Apple Vision Pro stuff did well is the actual like the like scrolling with your hand, just like just doing this motion and it'll scroll. I heard that actually worked in the
Yeah.
Apple Vision Pro, but and you can see through it. So then like people were like driving with it and like and scrolling through the internet while driving with it and then getting pulled over and stuff like that. Although that seemed more of a publicity stunt for just stunt YouTubers. Where it's like,
Yeah.
I have too much money. Like, what stupid stuff can I do? So,
Well, I remember like everyone was going to do that. I like it when they were all going to make cars. I remember that. That was a thing.
oh, Apple's gonna make cars, yeah.
Everyone was going to do it. Google was going to be a Google car, an Apple
Yeah.
car.
Well, yeah, that made sense when everybody thought like automated cars were going to be the thing, but then it's like, well, it's probably not
No,
going to be a thing.
no.
I don't know, it still might be because I remember like people were talking about the grim future where like nobody owns their car anymore and just like it's just all you're renting a self-driving car, like it's just all Ubers. Um,
Well, that works in like big city population centers. That doesn't work like where everyone else lives.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody's going to want that.
And I have a feeling they don't really work in big population centers anyway. So.
I don't.
Although, like the people I hear about, they do have. I forget what the company's called. They have stuff in like L.A. and San Francisco. They have self-driving cars there, and they're always just a hassle. And they're easily defeated if you just throw a safety cone on top of the hood. So
Yeah, there's people that will do that just for fun. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, nobody's technically being hurt if I do that. So, yeah, it works in densely populated areas like subways and stuff. Those are good. It's
they won't build that garbage.
very expensive to maintain, is why.
But overall, it'd be more efficient than everybody having 500,000 cars. But depends
Yeah,
what you want to do. So.
I think there's been a big people have definitely put their hands up about all that stuff. They're like, nope, nope, nope. And plus, everything could be hacked. I mean, when you look at because like all our systems are the things that control our power grid, our aircraft, they're constantly under assault.
Yeah.
Every week there's a story, and we know which countries are doing it. Well, imagine if like there's 1 million self-driving cars. You could hack into that network and kill more people than died on 9/11 in 10 minutes. I mean, and it wouldn't cost you. You wouldn't have to leave your own country.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to send guys to weird flight schools where they don't want to learn to land. And it's like, no, just hack into a computer.
But I mean, I think it's going to keep away. I mean, you could just look at the example of like all those scooters they had around there, where you could just stop, you just throw them in the, on the ground and leave it for the next person to like rent. And you just see what people did with those things. But I think that company's still around, so it must like make some money somehow.
I think there's still people use them around here. You see, some of them go really fast too.
Oh yeah.
I'm way over the weight limit for them.
Let's see here. Gray is trying to explain to Jamie what to do, but he doesn't know how any of this works. He's like, well, it's written on my arm, and she doesn't even look at anything on his arm. So, but then Jamie removes the input guards, says Gray has to wait till the system reboots. So Jamie runs off as she like spots Fisk showing up in like her surveillance camera. She mentioned something about like not letting them win, and that didn't mean anything here. And by the end of the movie, I don't know if it means anything. So.
Yeah. There's factions at work here, but we don't know who they are or what they mean.
Yeah. Because there is another car that shows up, and then it's like, oh, that's Aaron's team, which we actually don't know, but I assume it is.
No, it says the name of the company.
Oh, does it say Cobalt on it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No, not Cobalt. What's the name of his company?
No, the Cobalt's his company.
Oh, is it?
Okay. Oh, wait, no. It's Vessel is his company, isn't it?
Vessel, that's right. Yeah. Knew it had some weird name like that.
Wait, what's Ash's company? Is that Cobalt or was it something else?
It was Cobalt, I thought.
Okay, it was Cobalt. Okay. All right. So yeah, Gray's body's slowly waking up, or he's like dragging himself around with like one finger or whatever. The modified soldiers are breaking in. One of the guys with like he loads up his handgun, so there's like a little tube and like this part of the arm, he just boom, boom, and they like load. It's a literal handgun because their hand has a barrel on the end of it, which that's fun. Which I think the first thing that did something like that, a pun like that, was in the original Death Race 2000, where he has this is my hand grenade, and his hand was literally a grenade.
Okay.
Good old David Carradine. um. So yeah, then we see Aaron's team coming in. Stem comes back just in time to like escape from Fisk by like you're doing some jujitsu moves and moving his way through and just running past him as he gets shot at. The other guy kind of chases faster after Gray, and then Fisk kind of just slowly like meanders towards them, and then he's able to like spot like the elevator coming up, and he can look through a wall and he sees Aaron's team there, and then he shoots Aaron's team dead, and that's like okay, well, no idea what that was good. Wasn't even a fight, yeah. Then we got to Gray's on the roof. Stem makes Gray stop and fight the guy. He's like, oh, there's nowhere else to go. We'll have to fight. Which it seems to be like, Stem keeps putting Gray in these situations. So it's like, what's that about? It's like, I don't know. It just makes the movie more interesting. Because this is like a neat fight scene where he basically like overpowers the guy, breaks the guy's arm, and makes the guy shoot himself in the head with his own handgun thing. So
it's like, it's really cool into a scene.
Yeah. So that being the end of Act 2, because we kind of like fade out here. We get Act 3. Gray gets home and he's surprised by his mom, or his mom is surprised seeing him there walking around. Then Aaron sits and is. Then we cut to Aaron, who like sits as an emotional as he's like lost control of Stem. Like he's just like cowering in a corner, rocking as like the TV screen says like no connection or something like that. Gray wakes up from a dream, but feels Asha touching his arm in the dream, and he wakes up and he's like swears he feels it. And then Cortez shows up after they found his wheelchair at the homicides at Old Bones. So it's like, well, that's suspicious. How'd you get in that bed? Like, what's going on here? He's just laying in the bed trying to keep up. Like, yeah, he's still quadriplegic. And then also like Stem and Gray kind of have like a fight while he's in bed. And then like Stem, he tells Stem to shut down, and so it does. And then he can't control his body anymore. And so this is where he basically learns that like that the hacker removed the guard, so now Stem can control his body whenever it wants. There's nothing stopping Stem now. Although it seems like there nothing ever was, but whatever. It's the movie. So. Stem is forcing Gray to find and kill the guys that killed his wife before they kill him. At least that's what he says. Stem needs his body to live, so Gray takes his muscle.
Also needed his body because it didn't have other computer stuff in it.
Yeah, but they mention at the end there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
But you can bring it up now. It's like because he's the guy who's like rejecting newer technology, and then that's why it's appealing to Stem. So, which is maybe why Aaron bought the car in the first place, because Stem was curious. It's like, we need somebody who doesn't like technology, and here he is.
Oh yeah, Aaron says it was always Stem. Yeah. Now we don't know if he was trying to blame him to get out of it. It really was Stem was always controlling it.
So you think Stem wanted the T-top?
No, I think Stem wanted Aaron and this guy to have some kind of meeting to establish something.
Yeah, but why did they haven't build the Firebird?
Yeah, because that was his art.
Yeah, but they could have told him to build any car, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe Aaron really did like it. It's like, let me have the Firebird, Stem. You can but the Firebird will be my, devil in the machine.
Well, Gray takes off his muscle car. I didn't pick up on what his muscle car is here. Was it like
some kind of hold on,
like a Chevelle or something?
That's a Challenger.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. It's a Dodge Charger, I think.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean Dodge Challenger.
Oh, Challenger. Okay.
Where is it? It's right here. Dodge Challenger. Yes.
Okay. So they take the muscle car. Cortez follows, which it seems like I don't know. Like Stem says something like her car isn't electronically controlled, even though when you hear her car, it's clearly like it's
Oh, it has, it
electric.
has a gasoline engine. No, her car has like a gasoline engine.
Oh, it does. Okay, I thought I
Yeah.
heard like the
It's like
whirling of an electric engine in there.
no, because you can tell it's just not as loud as his because it's probably like
Okay.
a turbocharged 4-cylinder versus he has a big V8.
Okay.
But no, they do try to make it seem like it's her car is like different. And also they probably would because it was an actual police car because she turns on police lights later, so maybe they were smart enough to make them so they couldn't be influenced by
Oh, okay.
control.
Oh,
Even though she audibly say lights and sirens and they just turn on, it's like
yeah.
some kind of automation.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't take any inputs. It's only outputs only. So
That could be.
um so yeah, it's a car chase. Stem can't stop her car. Gray takes over and tries to get away from Cortez. And then Stem ends up taking over one of the self-driving cars on the highway and just has it crash into Cortez, and it stops her. But she's still alive. So it's a pretty gnarly crash, though. So.
Yeah, I think the guy in the auto car was dead.
Okay.
I think so because that was a pretty hard head-on collision. It doesn't say what kind of car she's driving. Interestingly enough.
Oh, okay. Huh. I mean, it does look more futuristic than some of the other cars, but
Yeah, because it says that like the AI cars, it just says made for movie.
okay.
Yeah, there's no like maker on those, so that's weird. It doesn't say what kind of car she has. Because even if it was made for movie, it would say hero car made for movie or something. But yeah.
Huh.
No luck.
Then we cut to Fisk walks into his house, and then Gray holds him up. He like tells him not to turn around and like not to straighten his arm out because he just knows all the things that can kill him. Although you figured maybe the sneeze death thing would come up again, but it doesn't. So, Fisk talks about being a soldier and having a bunch of implants, and how it's like he talks about being a new race of the upgraded. So then we got sort of the titular line there. Gray learns that Fisk was hired to paralyze him, and that killing his wife was just like an extra bit of the plan. So it was never about killing his wife; it was about paralyzing him. So, which he doesn't understand. Why would they do that? But, then we have Fisk and Stem fight. Stem says Fisk has nanobots and are predicting his moves, and so Gray is about to be killed when Gray does some psychological manipulation to make Fisk angry, talking about his brother being a drug addict and killing him, and then whining as he killed him and stuff like that. And then that allows Stem to get the upper hand, and they impale Fisk's head on a shard of glass. Which I thought it was at first I thought they're gonna have like, it paralyzes him, but then his head just fully is like like on the ground at the end. It's like, okay, that's like 6 inches of glass in his head. He's dead. So
And glass and sky, yeah, because this movie has the same concept of skulls that The Walking Dead does. You can just poke a pencil through a skull, don't you know? It's like, oh, that's actually a rock. It's hard to get through, but yeah, for the purpose of this, it works.
Yeah, this guy doesn't have a reinforced skull.
Yeah. The first thing I want is I want a titanium reinforced skull.
Gray checks Fisk's phone, which here he just pulls the earpiece out of his ear. That's the phone. And this is where we hear Aaron telling Fisk to kill Gray or else they're going to kill all of us. Which I don't know. I presume that's because you learn that how Stem works is by like vibrating and making sounds in his head. Do you think that was just created there, or do you think that was a message actually on the phone?
I'm not sure. That's the thing about this is you get into that unreliable narrator territory.
Yeah.
It's like, because he could make him hear anything.
Yeah.
So you don't know, but also, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, is Stem thinking that many moves ahead? Is it really relevant that he cares what Gray? Because at any point he could just take over.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares what Gray hears?
Gray goes to Aaron's place to kill him. There's some guards there waiting for him, and then as he like comes down the stairs, like Gray is looking down, and he just like pop pop, and is not even looking, and kills both these guys. uh, oh, I do like it here. It's like it's weird. Like even though like Stim is basically control everything, like Gray decides to taunt Aaron. I mean,
Yeah.
he is mad. He's like, "You killed my wife." At least that's what he thinks right now. And so he's like, "Aaron, the widget you spent your entire life making is crazy. You created is here to kill you." So, um, Aaron claims he has nothing to do with this. Cortez shows up to arrest Gray. Gray's trying to warn her, like, he can't stop himself from killing her. Then Stim is trying to kill Cortez. Gray's trying to stop it. Gray tells her to use a taser on him, and that kind of knocks him out. Aaron talks about how he doesn't run the company anymore. Stim does, and this is all Stim's idea. So that's the full reveal that like Stim is the bad guy. So that helped him get revenge, but also like the revenge is gonna ultimately be on Stim. So ultimately, Gray loses everything. So Stim says it needs a body that's a human body to be fully involved, and a human without implants is why Gray was chosen. Stem starts talking through the speakers in the building to everybody. Stem stabs Aaron in the head because, Gray gets like a knife put through his hand. I forget when, and then he
puts a knife through his own hand to
Yeah.
stop Stim from making him do things.
Yeah, and then he uses that knife in the hand to kill Aaron with, like, just slap him in the head with a knife. So,
Again, these skulls in this movie, I would just push the knife out of the back.
And then Stim is trying to shoot Cortez, and then Gray like goes to like shoot himself in the neck, and that's when we kind of like flash to Gray wakes up in a hospital. He calls out for Stim, but then Asha shows up, and she says like they were in an accident. But like we see also Gray can use his body; he's not a paraplegic. And then we cut back to reality, and we immediately know what's going on here. So, Cortez says, "Gray, this isn't you." And then like he's got kind of like a robotic voice now, and he says, "Gray's not here anymore." And then we kind of see that Gray's like trapped in his own mind. Stim shoots Cortez, tosses the gun down, pulls the knife out of his hand, and then like licks the blood off his hand.
Yeah.
Because I guess Stim hasn't tasted before or whatever. So, and then walks out. And here we also get kind of like the gyro cam here. This is also like the cover of the movie, where he kind of looks like looks like Michael C. Hall on the cover. Also, this guy kind of looks like Tom Hardy a bit too. This guy kind of looks like a lot of people, but
That's why he's a good bit actor.
Yeah.
Is that whoever? Okay.
Then we get the titles upgrade and then credits. So it's a very cool, innovative movie with a very dark ending.
Which explains, it ties into Dune like all this stuff does, because it explains the Butlerian Jihad. It's like that's why this happened. It's because they violated the supreme commandment of the Orange Catholic Bible. This is what you get. That's why you got to listen to Frank Herbert. Dune universe.
But yeah, this is a quintessential B movie in the modern era, which seems harder to do, but this movie did it, and it wasn't necessarily super successful, but they didn't spend a lot of money on it, and they probably have made money back by now. I mean,
it says like 25 million.
Okay.
On a $3 million budget.
I don't know how much to spend towards marketing and stuff like that, but I have
or 2024. So
yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's on Netflix, so they got to be making money from that. But again, I don't know how. This feels like it should be a cult classic, being that it was ignored when it came out. But I have to imagine a lot of people know about this now. Being that a TV show is hinted at being in production, people must know what it is. So
I hope so.
Or maybe Netflix is making it, which they have not been great with their cybernetic TV shows. So.
Yes, doesn't work out sometimes.
I mean, I was fine with the first season of what's the thing with the envoys and all that stuff?
Oh, Altered Carbon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was okay with that first season, even though they made some really bad decisions in the
Yeah,
world building.
they changed
And
that.
then I just didn't even bother to watch the second season. And then they did like a what they did like a cartoon movie in between or something like that. They did three things, but
Yeah, I don't remember that one. I remember the first season. It was okay. It took a while. Like 5 in, you're like, oh, I kind of like these characters. And the second season, they just like jumped off the rails.
yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like you guys are supposed to be really smart. Like there's source material here, right? I mean, you basically own the rights to the book, so you can like, you can make, because Takashi Kovacs could be anyone in any movie. Like you could make a series of
Yeah.
amazing
I mean,
movies.
they did do that. They had like one person star in the first season, and a
Yeah.
different person star in the second season, which it's like, okay, good on you. But then they made the envoy stuff really like stupid and religious rather than like a practical thing of like here's these almost unbeatable killing machines that like people don't use anymore because you can't control people. So,
Yeah.
but they still have the skills to kill everyone. So,
Well, yeah, the Altered Carbon universe is amazing and deep and dark, and it's all based on human exploitation. It's just like imagine the corporate situation we're in, but now you don't have like an assigned body. It's like, yeah, you don't travel faster than light. They just shoot your digital consciousness into space and you wake up on a planet on a different body. And some people wake up and start killing immediately because that's their actual job. But somehow we have to we have to
yeah,
disappear off
yeah,
our
they
own asses.
or yeah, or some corporation bought your digital time sentence and then shot you across the universe to do an assassination job.
Yeah. The horror death is no escape in the Altered Carbon universe.
Well, unless you're poor, you can always die if you're poor if you don't have the stack to back you up. But all the rich people
Or,
have stacks, so
or you have a religious objection.
um,
Yeah. Which those
yeah,
people are always cannon fodder.
I can't remember what like was that some like a legal thing or whatever technically in the altered carbon because like the rich guy gets killed, but like his stack is completely destroyed from that body, but he had a backup he's not supposed to have, but the backup doesn't remember himself
Oh,
being killed.
really, really rich people can transfer. They have what they call that basically it was like a wireless update stack.
Yeah.
So it's always sending information.
Okay.
But he had to kill himself because he got corrupted
Oh,
data
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
back. And so the one that came back like didn't know. So he technically actually died.
yeah, yeah.
And then the backup of him came back. Now, what you couldn't do in Alter Carbon was create multiple versions of your
Oh,
same.
that's right. Yeah.
It's called being double sleeved, and yeah, that's a what they call a real death offense where they kill all of you.
Yeah.
And because also AIs became irrelevant in the altered, they were also fighting for identity because once you started digitizing and transferring human consciousnesses around, you didn't need supercomputers anymore. You just created all kinds of people to do things, and so
Well,
yeah,
yeah, that's what. Yeah, because that's what they have the thing where they do like one of the what was it, Woken Furies, where they could go into a computer simulation that's at a different time dilation and
yeah.
basically spend 100 years playing a heist, then come out it's only been like 30 minutes.
Yeah, you could pick up insane like fighting skills and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm a jujitsu master. It's like 5 minutes ago you didn't even speak a foreign language, and it's like, well, yeah, but I did, relativistically, it's been 100 years.
Because I had that similar idea in a fiction I was working on where it's like there's the Earth is so overpopulated that they can't build prisons anymore, and so they just digitally create your prison sentence. And so like you think you've spent 100 years in jail, and you wake up it's the next day, and
Yeah,
so you're like oh, I've been rehabilitated, and you go to your family, it's like you killed our dad, like we're not accepting you anymore. It's like yeah, but that was 100 years ago. It's like yeah, but it's yesterday for us. We got to go to the funeral.
I'm the pallbearer at the funeral of the guy I killed, and I have 100 years to think about it. So everyone would be psychotic
yeah,
after.
that's what happens. But also that's the what makes because Earth doesn't have any resources anymore, and so that's their resource is like you can only do this on Earth. What's not allowed anywhere else. And so
Oh,
like they do a lot of architectural and engineering stuff because they can just throw people and do 1,000 years of engineering in a in a day's worth of work and come out. It's like, yeah, here's your engineering plans. Now give us a $3 billion or whatever. So, but you can only do it on Earth. So, but also there's also a vengeful thing of like if anybody on Earth is ever killed on another planet, vengeance will come for them. So,
A
so
very complicated 1,000-year plot that only took 15 minutes in subjective
yes.
time will happen.
So like it's like people are yeah. If you ever learn somebody's from Earth, you just like you stay away from them, and so it makes these already weird people from Earth, and they're special because also they don't have schools anymore. So that's where you have schools in this virtual environment, and so like basically people have college educations by the time they're 13, and then they don't have any. There's like no job on Earth because they're already being fulfilled another way. So
So yeah, basically everyone's Hannibal Lecter from Earth.
yeah.
It's like it's only through pain that I live.
Yeah.
Not my pain, your pain. Yeah, that's a great idea.
But most of the story is spent away from Earth and like plucky adventures and other planets. So. But the main guy is from Earth, so like when people find out, they're like treat him differently. It's like, wait, no, like, no, kill me if that's what you're meant to do. But it's like, no, we're not doing that from Earth.
I've had 50,000 years to think about that. If you're 25, it's like not really.
Yeah, so like, yeah, imagine if there's a Doctor Who who's like like 25 years old but spent a million years in jail. But it's in a mind prison jail, and they learned a lot of stuff along the way, but they are completely unhinged. Well, not unhinged. They're just their connection is so different from everybody else that they can't connect with anybody that will ever exist. So.
I do like the concept that came up. Who was the guy that wrote the Polity series? I think you only read the one with the giant crabs.
Yeah,
Craig Moon.
yeah, Praterman, yeah.
What was that guy's name? I don't know. Let me look it up real quick. I still read some of his books. He writes a lot of books.
Wasn't he like a Neil Asher?
Yes, Neil Asher.
Wasn't he like a mailman in like the UK, and he just wrote books on the side, and now it's his.
He did a lot of things. He drove lorries, which is what we call a tractor trailer, semi truck. Yeah, he described a lot of different jobs. But in the Polity universe, human immortality is a relatively recent thing. It's where you just don't die.
Yeah.
You have nano machines that keep you the same age, but you hit what's called an ennui barrier, and that's when things get dangerous. After about 300 years, you just start like, what if I just made the sun explode? Like you just start having these, and so that's when you have to watch people, because that's why the AIs just want to kill people. But really, all AIs are just human personalities with machine intelligences behind them. So it's like we can't really kill them because we're killing ourselves. But God, they suck, and they come up with because all the bad stuff that happens in the Polity universe is basically humans that have lived too long, and they're like, then smarter than hell, and they're like, what if I released a virus or they always do something insane, and
they need a new what do you call that?
Yeah, they just need something to entertain them.
Yeah, like everything is so old and expected that they need something novel to excite them. So
yeah. Yeah, it's a very weird. It's a very interesting concept in that because it's why bad things happen. Because the polity is a utopian society run by artificial intelligence where there's no scarcity in that universe. Everything is just like ultra technology, but people are still the problem. And then of course there's all the dead civilizations that exist out there that have dangerous stuff coming from them. And they have to build spaceships as big as moons to fight it off, and it's crazy.
Is Polity Neil Asher or is that Alistair Reynolds?
Polity's Neil Asher.
Okay.
Alistair Reynolds is what's his universe? Well, there's several different things in his universe. But yeah, the one like the Prefect universe, that's called the Demarchy.
Okay.
And then you have like the Ultras and you have different political factions there. Yeah, but they're demarchists, and they're all wiped out though. The last book he wrote was about the post-inhibitor survival, because once you get close to the speed of light, the universe tries to kill you, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, some intelligence tries to stop you.
You know, just like in The Expanse.
Yeah, the
And in Mass Effect.
Picard season 1, and we keep coming back to this.
No, we're gonna make it work.
Yeah, we're gonna tell the story right.
Well, we're sending a program space containing the supercut of the scenes from the imperfect collection of this Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what one scene from this movie are we shoving into space?
The first fight scene.
Okay.
Because it basically explains everything that can and will happen in this movie. It will just get more and more elaborate as it goes on. But yeah, if you want to know what it is, that's going to be it. It's like a man with weird, like I said, it's a new fighting style called autism. Don't make me do this, man. No. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, surprised there wasn't. I guess I'm sort of surprised there wasn't a movie to this. It feels like if a movie starts on a low budget, that the franchise can get away with keep making low budget. Although this movie doesn't feel low budget at all. So
no,
but
it's a really high quality B movie.
Yeah,
and it exists in a time and space where you don't see that a lot anymore.
No.
I mean, you do, but it's always like Blair Witch type stuff where it's like obviously low, but it has like a good hook to it.
Yeah.
It's or like this,
trying something new.
Yeah, this is like, it looks great.
Yeah.
The only thing you notice is like, I know none of the actors.
Yeah.
But the actors also look cool in this.
Yeah.
Like the bad guy in this, like looks bad.
Yeah, you hate him immediately.
I hate that man's head. The shape pisses me off. I'm sorry, I'm sure that he's a nice guy in real life, but his head very punchable. It's like, I don't know what they're, and maybe they did that on purpose. It's like, give him a weird haircut. You know, I don't know.
Oh, the mustache. He has a mustache, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the pedophile pencil mustache. John Waters if he was a cyborg.
Yeah. You can also find us on Letterboxd, username VHE. 1 out of 5 stars. What are we giving this movie?
I'm going to give this movie 4 stars.
Okay.
Because it's not perfect, and the story, some of the story stuff is like, well, this is humorous. You understand why it happens, but some of it you can't like overlook because it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Is everyone dumb in this movie? But then, like you said, it's also Stephen King like werewolf logic. It's like, well, I wouldn't act this way. It's like, yeah, because this crap isn't real. Of course you wouldn't act this way. It's not real. But if it was, maybe people just would be dumb and crazy.
You can find us at Verhoeven Effect. There we have listener support. You can support us at a monthly stipend on 99 cents 49 or 999. Cancel anytime. You can rate our podcast on whatever platform you're choosing. Rate us what you want. But the only thing the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. So remember, like, give us the highest rating so we can confuse the algorithm. You see what happens in this movie when the algorithm takes over. So.
Like I said, remember the supreme commandment of the Butlerian Jihad: not make a machine in the image of a human mind, or this will happen.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. And you find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory. You can watch both this and that show live and unedited. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.